Thanks for tuning into this episode of Walden Wong Art. And today's video, we're going to be lettering Final Fantasy. All this is hand lettered. So I did a recent commission where someone asked me to do a cover recreation or a video game cover or poster. I wasn't really sure. They sent me an image, and then they said they also wanted the words Final Fantasy VII lettered, hand lettered on the artwork. So this is how it's gonna look. So I'm gonna talk about what tools I use and how I approach lettering this, and it's gonna be a fun video. So take a look. Here we go. Here's the pencil that I've drawn, Final Fantasy. I drew this with a pencil, and now I'm gonna ink it. I'm gonna grab a acrylic ruler so I can see through it, so I can see what I'm drawing underneath it. And the pennies, I stuck it there so it gives it a raised edge. So if you look at this, the ruler is raised. So if I'm inking on top with a repeatograph pen, this is the repeatograph pen I'm gonna be using, the Cardinal repeatograph. This one is the size 2/0.60. And when I glide the pen on top, it doesn't touch the paper at the end of it. Because usually if you're inking, and then, here, let me give you an example. If you're inking and your ruler was not beveled, there's a good chance that you can smudge it. For example, like if I ink this line and I move it, you see how that line kind of smudged a little bit? Like there's a chance that when you're moving around, it smudges. But if it's beveled this way, you can move it in between your ruler and it won't smudge. You see that? But if you accidentally move it on top of your pennies, you will smudge it. So keep track of that. So I'm just gonna dry off my pennies, and then now that it's dried, I'm gonna start inking. So the first thing I'm gonna ink is the insides of the letters. I'm gonna start inking off all the lines going this direction first. Okay. So we're gonna go like this. And there's a reason I picked the red one, because this is just the right thickness. Each repeatograph pen that you have is going to have a different thickness. And then I'll make a video in the future with all the different inking tools that I use. Okay, I'm going to ink all the lines going this direction. This way I don't have to like jump around that much. So what I'm doing is as I'm drawing each line, I'm looking at the top edge and then the bottom edge, and then I'll tilt my repeatograph like this just so it fills in the center. Okay, so this is fairly easy. Drawing it in pencil is the part that took a little bit, but inking is a little bit quicker. Okay, and then as I'm inking, you notice how I'm pivoting. Do you see that? The reason I'm pivoting is because when you're pivoting, you're inking that line in a different direction. Okay, so I'll ink this line like this. I'll go back. I'll go here, and then I'll pivot just to fill in this inside. Okay, so I'm going to continue inking all those there. And with the inking stage, you want to be as accurate as you can. Penciling, you can be like a little bit looser. If you're drawing in pencil, you can always make it up back during the inking stage. Okay, I'm gonna go in here and then ink that line, ink the bottom line, pivot, and then fill in the insides. Okay, and so right over here, I'm gonna go like this, and pivot, and then fill in the insides. Okay, I don't want to start inking this way and then kind of like go one section at a time. And there's a reason for that, because if I do one section bringing it down, what I mean is if I'm going this way and I'm filling it, there's a good chance that when you're scribbling, the paper will kind of like get wet and beat up, and then you'll drag some of the fibers. So what I do is I'll ink the outsides first. So the outside as in this line first, and then the bottom line, and then I'll go in and fill in the insides by pivoting. Okay, here's this side. And these are narrow letters, the words Final Fantasy, compared to one of my other videos that I worked on where I was inking the words Amazing Fantasy, Amazing Case. Those are bigger letters, so this takes a little bit more time. Okay, but luckily here with the words Final Fantasy, there isn't that many curved letters, so I was thankful for that. The only curved letter was the letter S over here. Letter S. Everything else is pretty straight. So that's pretty good. Not that bad. Okay, so again, I'm gonna go as fast as I can. So this is a video that I'm recording in real time. It's not speed up, and then I'm narrating as I'm inking the words. Okay. Again, when you're lettering comic books or inking comic books, try to get all that done in pencil first, and then ink it with the ink pens later, just like inking comic books. So right over here, I'll ink the outsides, ink it in. Now, I have some experience in inking comic books. Not a lot of you will know. There's this publisher, they're called VII Media. And in the past, I've done some lettering for them. Books like Detective Conan, also Shonen Jump. I did some lettering, also art touch-ups. So if you look at some of those books, one of my favorite books that I've done for Viz Media is called Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. Not only did I did the lettering there, I did a lot of art touch-ups. So that was a nice experience doing some lettering. Providing that most of those lettering are digital lettering. Back then, I remember we used to work on stats, comic book stats, where the publisher would get, this is Viz Media, the publisher would get stats, actual like plastic stats, and then they would do the art touch-ups. And then every so often, when some of the art needs to be touched around, I would go in there and then hand draw some of the artwork, and then hand letter some of the text back in English. So that's my experience with lettering comic books. So a long time ago. It was a long time ago. Yeah, I remember for Viz, I made some, I think Wedding Peach was my first manga graphic novel that I've ever lettered. And at that time, I didn't really know exactly what I was doing. But then I learned along the way, and I learned how to letter there. What else did I lettered? Yeah, there's a bunch of titles out there. Oh yeah, Dr. Slump. Dr. Slump is the same artist, Akira Toriyama. He also worked on Dragon Ball. Dr. Slump was one of the titles that I lettered also. So if you're in a bookstore or if you have that on your bookshelf, pull it out and then see if you can see my name in the credits. Okay, so now I inked all the words going that way. I'm gonna let it dry for a little bit, and then I'm gonna ink all the bottom letters. Okay, I like using a T-square because it's shorter on this side and longer on that side. So when I'm holding it, I either hold it this way or I'll hold it this way. If I had a straight ruler, it's a little bit harder because you're holding it this way. I like holding a ruler this way because it's easier for my hand to hold. Okay, so right over here, I'm gonna ink the bottom of the letters, F here. So I'm gonna go one at a time. Those little notches. Okay, right over here, just go all the way across. Just to make the bottom aligned. And then when I drew this in pencil, I drew the pencil guide all the way across just to make sure that it's even all the way across. Nothing is going to look worse than wobbly letters on the bottom. Okay, so I've done that side. So that's all the bottom. I'm going to turn it around this way. So when I turn it around this way, I'm going to do all the top letters, making sure my ruler is against my pencil guide. I'm going to have all this in here. Okay, that's all the words in here. I'm going to put this ruler here, and then I'm going to start going all the way across. Okay, just take your time, one at a time. Fill some of the things in as you go. Okay, don't rush it. Because if you rush it, you're going to have to do it all over again. Just make sure you're very careful. I'd rather be more careful and do it precise than to rush it and then make a mistake and then having to start all over again. I've in the past, in the beginning, I've done some rush work and then, I made mistakes and then I would go back and do it all over again. So it's better to take your time. As they say, haste makes waste. Okay, and there's all that. Now I'm going to put a little dot there. I'm going to freehand that S over here. So just make sure I could use a template, but since the letters here are so narrow, I'm just gonna freehand it. I remember the first time I did some freehand lettering, one of the Viz designers said to me, you know, with little things like that, you can just freehand it. No one's ever gonna know. Okay, so there's all those letters. Now I'm gonna go in here and do all the F's right over here. Fill that in. Right over here, fill that in, and then fill the bottom in. Okay, and then I'm going to finish these I'm going to freehand these letters, the little T's over here, right over here. Connect that right over there, the T, and then the little triangles over here, and then the little triangles over here. And then the L, there's a little triangle here. Give that a thickness. Just go ahead and freehand it. Okay, and then the little triangles here, and then here. Fill that in, and then a little triangle right over here. Final Fantasy. Okay, and then after I had all do that, you need to do the little A's. I put my ruler right over here. And I drew a pencil guide, and you notice that's the pencil line, so it just helps me see where I originally placed it. And then I'll pivot, ink one line, pivot. Okay, ink one line and then pivot. And then ink one line and then pivot and then fill in the rest. Final Fantasy, there's the word Final Fantasy. And then now I'm gonna letter the bottom bar. Okay, make sure this starts here and this goes all the way across. So I think that I'm going to pivot my pen a little bit. Pivot a little bit. There we go. Okay, so that's the bar all the way across Final Fantasy VII. Now I'm going to have to hand letter the stroke. The stroke is basically the outline of the letters. That's called stroke. Now with lettering, there's a few terms. There's something called kerning. Kerning is how far apart the letters are to each other. You can kern a letter further apart or closer in. That's called kern, K-E-R-N. And then a stroke, S-T-R-O-K-E, with lettering is the outline of the letters. That's called a stroke, S-T-R-O-K-E. Okay, so I'm going to start inking in the strokes on the bottom. Right over here. Make sure everything's aligned, and then I'm gonna slowly. Now, right here, I'm using the smaller tip. This one's the size 0.0/0.30. That's the yellow one. That's the yellow Radiograph column or technical pen. So right over here, start from the bottom. We draw this line here. Actually, it's better to start doing the sides first. Let me explain why. If you do all the bottom here and do all the bottom there, and then later you do the sides, there's a good chance that you're smudging. So if I do all the insides here first, and then I go here, I won't be smudging anything, okay? That's why it's better to go this direction. And I'm gonna make sure with the place I inked is in between my pennies. Okay, ink the sides. One line here, and then here's the I. This is the VII. Very precise right over here. I'm going to tilt the ruler a little bit and just going to continue. Okay, and as I'm doing this, I want to make sure the stroke is the same thickness all the way around. As best as you can. I'm going to go in there. Okay, like that. Just take your time and just go in there. And then the letter S is going to start right here. Again, try to keep the distance. So with lettering, again, this is called a stroke. With art, it's called a halo. Terms are different depending on what you're doing. So again, if you're drawing comic books and then you have an outline or something, you want it to have a bubble, it's called a halo. With lettering, it's called a stroke. Okay, this one goes all the way up there. You want to go here, go all the way to the top. Then I want to go here. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to move my ruler with my left hand. Okay, so right here, we're going to go this line. I'm going to move it here. And as I go up there, I'm going to move the ruler a little bit. There, here, and then the sides. Yeah, so this was a commission piece. This piece, someone commissioned me to draw this. I wouldn't call it draw. I would say a cover recreation of the image that he sent me. I don't know who the artist that drew this piece of artwork for. So let me show you. So the art is like that. So I looked at the original art and I kind of drew it in my style, my penciling style, the way I thought it would look nice be penciled. And then after that, I'm going to be inking it. And when I'm done inking it, I'm going to be coloring it. So right now, I'm doing the lettering stage. Okay, just shift the ruler around. So not only am I moving my right hand, I'm also moving my left hand when I'm lettering. Okay, like this. Okay, most comic books these days they're like computer lettered. They're not even hand lettered anymore. And there's still some artists that wants their work to be hand lettered. Majority of the comic books these days they're digital lettered, either with Photoshop or Illustrator. I remember when I was doing digital lettering, I was lettering with Illustrator, and then after I typed in all the words, I would import it to Photoshop, and then pull the letters on Photoshop. These days, there's a lot of artists, letterers that would do things through InDesign, which is a publishing software. That makes it easier. Okay, so but I'm doing this hand lettering so you can see how it's done from before. And if you want to do it on your own, I mean, it looks nice for the original artwork. Okay, so here's the sides. Okay, now after that, I'm going to do the bottom of the letters, the bottom stroke of the letters. So right here, connect here, and go all the way across. The A, the T, the N. Go over here, the L. And then align up the rule a little bit. Gonna continue on. Here's the A, the N, the bottom of the letter I, bottom of the letter F. Okay, after that, I'm going to turn it around so it faces. So this part faces my body, and then I'm gonna put my ruler here, align it up with the top. Okay, make sure line it up with the top, and then gonna start inking those in. Just take your time and make sure you're connecting all the strokes. And over here, just go all the way across. See, it's good. Like I mentioned earlier, it's nice that all these letters they're straight. Okay, can you imagine if I had to do like a lot of O's and S's and C's and Q's? That's a lot of curves. So this one's not that bad. The only curved letter here was the letter S. So I'm grateful that it's not that many curves. Okay, right here, use the ruler and just move the ruler as you go. And then now I'm gonna get rid of the ruler and then I'm gonna freehand everything else. So right over here, I'm gonna add that hook over here, add that hook over here, and then continue on the S and the letter Y. I'm gonna go back over and make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, the letter T, the stroke on the T, make sure it's aligned. Right over here. Okay, the F's right over here. I'm gonna move this in here. Freehand that. Freehand this. Okay, the letter L. Gonna freehand that. Okay, what else? Okay, and then the letter F right over here. We're gonna connect this. Connect over here. And then down here. And then after that, okay, all the F's are done. Final Fantasy. Right over there. Now I'm gonna ink the bottom. So, oh yeah, I gotta freehand the letter S. Let's not forget that. Okay, so we're gonna go from here, freehand it, go over here, and then this part, freehand, make sure it touches the top line, then go back down. And then now we're gonna draw the underline. So there's a stroke. Make sure when you draw that line, it doesn't touch the letters on top. Okay, so from here to here, I'm gonna start this side, go all the way across. Okay, just glide that repeater graph, and then take this part, freehand that, glide all the way across. Okay, I want to make the bottom one a little bit thicker, just because I like the line weights on that. The Final Fantasy lettering process. Okay. So here's the pencil artwork. Stay tuned for my next a future video where you see me ink this. I'm not only am I going to be inking it, I'm also going to be coloring it. But for this video, here's the words Final Fantasy. Right over here. So let's take another look. Final Fantasy VII. So there you have it. That's the words Final Fantasy. And all I've used were repeater graph pins, just like this. You can buy them in sets if you want to get a set of your own. I'll add links below to this video if you want to get a set. So anything you order on my Amazon links, I get a little bit of kickback. So thank you for that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please check out my website, waldenwongart.com. On my website, there's a lot of pictures, galleries, things that you can order, videos and news and everything about me. And if you enjoy this video, please think about supporting me over on Patreon. My Patreon is patreon.com/WaldenWongArt. Thank you very much, and please like, share, subscribe, and if you haven't done so already, hit that notification bell so anytime there's a new video, you'll be one of the first to see it. So I hope you're enjoying these videos, and take care, stay safe, and talk to you next time. Bye-bye.